Welcome to Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, ihatecritics.com, everyone's a critic podcast.com. It's the new site now. I moved it to the one that Libsyn makes for us.
Wait, what?
Yeah. On my own.
What's going on? No, I'm kidding.
And on there, though, we still have the podcast merch tab. It's off to the right, and the Patreon is up at the top. I don't know mobily if you can see the podcast merch, but you can definitely see the Patreon. So any of those sites will get us there.
Classics to a doc?
I did not, because they were just... I hadn't updated in a while because the site kept getting hit with some sort of virus. So... it wouldn't be that hard to go in and... but I can't link to it on this new site, so even if I did...
as long as we have it.
Yeah. But like I said, Patreon is still ihatecritics.net/Patreon if you want to help support the podcast. And we do finally have the new designs up, the Batman v Jesus shirts and pillows and magnets, the Cameron Diaz's shoulders, design, and the Willem Dafoe's confusingly large wiener design. You don't got to get a shirt if you're too embarrassed to wear a shirt like that around. But it does, there is other things, pillows, notebooks, magnets, they're funny. Buy one.
There you go.
I can't wait till I can finally start getting them. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Like us there, friend us, and... Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Alexa, all your podcatchers. Subscribe to the show, rate and review the show, and YouTube. Subscribe there. Click the little, the bell to give you a notification when a new episode drops. That's another way to help us out. Listen on YouTube.
The YouTube algorithm is funny. It is really funny to watch which episodes get hits and which ones don't.
Yeah. And part of me wants to be more perverted with my titles, but at the same time, you don't want to get too, it's got to make sense. You can't just... I could have done the Invisible Man peeing last week, but I didn't really want to see what the algorithm would bring up with that.
Yeah. Silent sex is actually slowed down, or quiet sex, or whatever the one was that was out there. That jumped out to the lead, but it slowed down.
Is it not the lead anymore?
I think it might still be the most viewed.
But it's not constantly gaining... I wonder how long people watch
Weirdly,
it, too.
DC superheroes are catching up, so
not surprised by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just talk about DC stuff all the time.
I watch the YouTube numbers for some reason. I'm just fascinated to watch what happens.
This week, we got a full show for you, but we'll start with some news. Obviously, the new website design was where we're going to start. And the designs by Jeff, he did those back in, I want to say, December... probably right around December, maybe January. I can't remember. And I've just been sitting on them.
Yeah, that's why he's posting pissy little responses on our Facebook page.
Well, I will say that I knew there was a way to make them so that you don't have a background with it. Transparent, I think is the word. But I wasn't sure how to do it without Photoshop. And I just kind of casually threw it out there. And Jeff's like, oh, I can do that. Hold on. And within seconds, it was done. And I was like, crap, I feel bad. I could have asked him all along. Because I've honestly been spending like 3 months trying to I've been working a lot, but the few minutes I have spare, I've been trying to figure out how to make the stuff transparent. And then finally I was like, fuck it, I'll just get Batman out there because that doesn't need to be. And then that's when Jeff came in. So he did come and save the day and get him out there for us. So thank you, Jeff. They're really good designs. Please, if nothing else, check them out.
He's an incredible artist.
And he's incredibly funny on top of that, which it's beyond just the artist stuff. The Willem Dafoe thing I wasn't even planning on ever even seeing, and then he came up with that all on his own. It was pretty good. And then James Bond week, the coronavirus has scared the movie off of its release date.
Seems that way, yeah. With more and more of the China marketplace seeming to close down, I guess they're going to run for November and hope for the best. If that's the case, or is the movie bad? I don't know. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, that was weird. I guess Bond, I don't know. I've never really noticed whether or not Bond's movies are long or not, because they all feel like they're three 4 days for me when I'm sitting
It
through.
does feel like a lot of the blockbuster action movies are pushing that 2.5 to 3 hour length anymore.
I don't know why. But
I kind of get it Marvel-wise, but maybe Bond too. I don't know, but
and there's only one character.
Right.
Marvel's at least got the excuse of a lot of characters. This has got the excuse of just a lot of nonsense in this story. But I do wonder, honestly, like Mulan's still coming out, and Disney doesn't seem all that concerned about being in the China market with a major league movie 2 weeks prior. So, really? Is that really the reason why they're running? Or
I mean, can I just come out in China later? I don't understand why it can come out one, not the other.
They're costing themselves $30 million to do this.
Really weird. Yeah, I don't. But because of that, we don't know for sure yet, or is that
it is for sure. It is
for sure now they're doing it.
Yeah, they're pulling down all the posters and everything in the movie theaters and changing all the marketing campaigns. Yeah, it's a done deal.
So we may have a nothing week that week.
Yeah, the only thing that's maybe coming out is Saint Maud, but it's A24, so that could be a platform release. Although A24, please give us that movie. Give it to us now, because honestly, we love you and we know it'll be brilliant. Well, but other than that, yeah, there's nothing else that week, because I wasn't planning on covering Trolls World Tour. Sorry.
I think it looks terrible.
Sorry, Trolls fans.
Well, they're vilifying metal music. Screw that. I mean, I may end up seeing it unless my in-laws want to take the kids, so we'll see if my Braveheart gets re-released March 22nd. Nice. Sorry, just trying to see if anything new is popping up.
But yeah, right now Saint Maud is the only thing that's set for that week potentially, other than Trolls. And so we put a thing up on the Facebook page about asking people what you think should be done that week, and it's a listener's choice. It's a Cronenberg episode, because we've both been really loving the Cronenberg that we saw recently, and kind of want to look into that a little bit more. And what was the other option? I don't remember.
One of them was a Bond marathon, which I don't know why you'd even consider that. Because I'm not going to play with you. I don't remember I feel like there was 3. Or one was like the viewer's choice, kind of listener's choice.
And so far there have been no serious answers.
Someone on my page suggested Windy City Heat.
I don't know that movie, but I'm open to it, whatever that is.
He sent a link to grantland.com. It says the greatest trick comedy ever pulled. On its 10th anniversary, we look back on a made-for-TV prank movie, Windy City Heat, and discover the secret history of LA's comedy underbelly along the way. In 2003, a made-for-TV movie directed by Bobcat Goldthwait and starring an unknown stand-up comedian named Perry Caravello aired a handful of times on Comedy Central with virtually no fanfare. The film was called Windy City Heat, and it's kind of a documentary about the making of a 1940s-style noir thriller concerning a Chicago-based sports detective named Stone Fury, investigating the disappearance of Ernie Banks' pants and winning the Perry's refrigerator.
Okay.
If we can find it.
I mean, yeah, that sounds pretty obscure, but hey, that's the most serious answer we've had, because somebody said Gremlins 2, and obviously that's not happening.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
Ian, I apologize. We've already done The Hobbit, and we've already done The Lord of the Rings. We're not going back on those. Yeah,
unless Josh wants to do an episode alone. So there's still a few weeks.
Unless you want to go Patreon, and then we'll listen. Then, if you go through a Patreon suggestion of a particular price, then we'll listen. But.
Yeah. And do it again. I'll just re-release the one we did. But that's something to think about what you want to hear that week. We're kind of leaning towards the Cronenberg idea. That sounds. I'd like to jump down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing Shivers.
Yeah, that I've never seen Videodrome. I've really never seen anything from that early era of Cronenberg other than The Fly, and then what we just watched recently. So that'd be my first choice. So that's where we're leaning until you guys come up with something better. And if Windy City Heat's available, maybe we'll check that out too. We have a few weeks. The number 1 movie this week was a cartoon from Pixar called Onward.
Onward, yes, featuring the voices of Tom Holland and Chris Pratt, and the director of Inside Out, I believe it is, put this one together. It's set in a magical universe of elves and fairies and so on. A magical universe in which the magic has seemingly left the universe. People the people living there, the elves and so on, have forgotten what magic is over the years, and they've settled into this mundane suburban existence. That is until Tom Holland's 16th birthday, when his mother, voiced by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, gives him a gift from his father, which is a magical staff. And the magical staff contains this one spell that can bring their father back to life for one single day. It doesn't work, however. They bring back only half of him. His pants, essentially, come back. And from there, they've got to retrieve a magical stone. And once they do that, they'll be able to bring him back fully. But they only have him for however much is left of the day that they started with him. That's pretty much it. The trailer gives you all of that, too. Which,
right.
This is a very thin story. And for a Pixar movie, this is incredibly disappointing. In terms of just how there's no greater thing here. There's no the animation isn't all that impressive. The underlying story isn't all that resonant and lively. Like, Inside Out had that really interesting idea of what's going on inside of a child's head and taking you inside their emotions and kind of giving their emotions life in a unique way. This movie doesn't do anything remotely like that. This movie is kind of an adventure movie, but it's also and it kind of rolls off of an RPG thing, but they don't really go to any depth into that either. I guess the heart of the movie is the relationship between Chris Pratt's sort of doofy older brother and Tom Holland's more nerdy and respectable little brother. But that relationship isn't very interesting. It feels like every other kind of big brother, little brother relationship we've ever seen, aside from maybe the bigger brother being the one who's into RPG games, is a little different, I guess. Which, how much better would this movie be if that were Brian Posehn instead of Chris Pratt? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think part of the movie too is there's not a lot of things going on. It's just kind of that story.
Yeah.
Like, in the same story, it kind of happens in A Star Is Born, only there's a million other things happening in that movie. So when you get to that moment, it's impactful. And this one, it's there. It is impactful. It's good. But it is so, like, I fell asleep a lot. And I missed nothing.
Nothing.
And, like, I knew what was going on the entire time. So it wasn't overly complicated, which then makes it overly long, even though it's, like, 100 minutes. Not even that long of a movie. But they took a fair idea and just spread it so thin that it kind of loses that, emotional gut check, if that makes any sense.
It's all surface. There's no depth to this. Where there's always, in a Pixar movie, there's always depth to them. There's always an underpinning, something that is a grander, larger story. And this is very mundane by their standards. I was telling somebody, and I was kind of using this as a way of insulting every other animation company, because this is probably the best thing that any other animation company can make.
Right.
Whereas it's the worst thing that Pixar can do. This is Pixar basically making like a Despicable Me, or like a How to Train Your Dragon. Like, this is the best that those guys can do.
How to Train Your Dragon's better than this. Wreck-It Ralph's better than this. But yeah, even I'd say like the Frozen movies, but from beyond
those
that,
are Disney Pixar. I mean, they're not the same, but they're.
But but you're right. Outside of those select few, this is. It's still better than Despicable Me and Minions and all that stuff and Angry Birds. But, my son liked it, so I guess it hit its audience, but it really bored me a lot.
I expect so much more from Pixar. I really do. I have a very high standard for what Pixar does, because they tend to live up to that each and every time out. Toy Story 4 was the last thing they did. Toy Story 4 was fucking amazing. They're the one company in the world that can do a fourth story in a fourth in a series and make it as good as the first. That's just not something that most companies can do. Everything they do. Maybe The Good Dinosaur was maybe the weakest thing they ever did, but even that was better than this.
Yeah, but again, this isn't bad. It's just kind of boring, and it's thin, and it's Like, yeah, no depth. I suppose I shouldn't say thin. I should say it lacks depth. But yeah, it is what it is.
It's not even and it's not even funny. Like it's kind of amusing here and there, but there's nothing. There's no the gags aren't really that great. So the side quests that they have to do throughout don't really flesh out the characters and give them any kind of new sort of dimension. It really is just reaffirming the same ideas. He's older and irresponsible. He's younger and too frightened of the world, and lather, rinse, repeat. It's over and over again, the same thing again and again and again, and it doesn't really do anything special. And
maybe that's because the Pixar movie that even hurts a little more, because like there are moments where Pixar really captures how uncomfortable he is in certain situations when he tries to invite his friends to a party, and they do a good job of capturing that moment and how uncomfortable he is and how it just goes downhill when his brother shows up. But it's a lot of just kind of nothing in between all that,
and those characters don't come back.
No,
like any other Pixar movie, they would be part of the journey, but they're not even part of the journey.
And I think had they done more with, you needed more stories to have this underlying story, which is the only story, really play out and be powerful. It's still an important, powerful scene at the end, but by the time you get there, you're just kind of ready to go home. So it doesn't hit you like it should.
It really doesn't. The way it plays out, that ending, I get where they're going with that, but at the same time, they fail to set up that particular character well enough for that moment to really pay off for me. And then we're not even in that moment. We're with the other character, and it's like, what are we even doing here? Like, this is such a confused narrative that you got going on here. You've set up one thing as the ultimate goal, and then you've given the ultimate goal to the wrong character, or whatever. And
that character also played a role in why it happened in the first place. So it's just. They spread the story too thin and didn't have enough there, and that was just kind of weak.
And this was weak going back to the trailer when you think about it. I mean, this was basically exactly the movie that was in the trailer, and that's really, I thought from the trailer maybe, okay, this is pretty weak. Like, I watched the trailer and I was not impressed in the way I've always been impressed by Pixar movies, but I gave it so much like leeway, like, okay, fine. Bad trailer or weak trailer, but it'll be a much better movie. They've always come up with something to make a better, deeper, more rich experience of a movie. Nope. This is exactly what the trailer was.
Well, and here's my experience going to see it. I was at home, literally on my way out the door to go see The Way Back. I'm going to take my son, and then I looked at the rating. I was like, rated R. I was like, shit, probably shouldn't take him to that. Thinking I'd still get to The Way Back at some point this weekend. I'm like, what else comes out? I'm like, Onward. What's Onward? I didn't know what it was. So I didn't know. I started to recognize the trailer when I watched it. I didn't know it was Pixar till literally right before I was going to see it. So then I was like, oh, good. At least we got a Pixar movie. And so, I don't know. It is what it is. We also went to a later showing, too, which is stupid.
Kids will enjoy it. Parents, and this is how I've ever recommended, like, most animated movies, like Despicable Me, or even, I know you like How to Train Your Dragon. I don't, but take a book, mom and dad, and let the kids just kind of enjoy it.
But even that, it doesn't have the bells and whistles that the Minions movies don't. I was doing that a lot too, but but even then, I worry about some kids liking this because it's not as fun and exciting as the flashy light movies, because this really isn't that. Because like you said, it's not very funny. It's not very. There's just, I don't know. But it made $40 million.
Safe, reasonable message, amusing enough.
But it almost, I don't know. I feel like they almost hurt themselves by trying to be too good instead of just, lowering their own bar. And being like, okay, let's just put something silly in it.
Yeah, start to just throw in one of those wacky characters,
right,
and some fart jokes, and there you go.
No wacky characters, no fart jokes. Well, the next most successful movie this week is The Way Back.
Yes, the Way Back, starring Ben Affleck as a guy who is dealing with a very serious level of grief. Several years before the story, his son died of cancer, and that led to the end of his marriage. He's been spending his days just drinking as much as possible, trying to deal with this. His coping mechanism has been a serious amount of drinking. We literally see him buy an entire box of booze at the start of the movie, and this movie is brilliant in the way it layers in information. So we kind of know going in from the trailer and so on what's going on here with him, and it's very easy to take. But early on in the film, he has a scene where he's buying this box of booze, and he sees this person from his former life who says to him, "Hey, so where's your wife and your son?" And he goes, "Oh, they're waiting for me, for Thanksgiving dinner." He's just pretending. He's pretending that life is still what it was, so he can get by with this person and just get out of there and get to where he wants to be with this box of alcohol. And it's devastating. Right off the bat, this movie is devastating, and it just it builds this through Affleck entirely, through the character, through his performance. You just build to more and more of these really big emotional moments, not like crescendos, like big crashing waves of emotion, but just like this slow build of just like you're just gutted for this guy. You just want him to recover, and not that he's not going to, but it's weird. It's not a typical arc here. This is not going to be a very simple redemption thing. It's going to be he kind of stops drinking for a little while, and you're just kind of left going. It's almost like a cliffhanger. Like when's the thing that's going to trigger him to pick up a bottle again and go back to where he was? And that is a really fascinating way to tell this story. This is directed by Gavin O'Connor, who is a functional director. He's not a brilliant artist. For a lot of this movie, I was like, why is it so dark? Like, you made the movie too dark. I can barely see anything. And his process is very straightforward. He's a craftsman, but he's relying so heavily on Affleck's performance. And if Affleck's performance doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. But it does. He's so goddamn compelling. And so much of it is in his face and in the things that he says and then the things he doesn't say. The way he holds back on things that, in other movies there's a lot of big, broad emotion. He's holding back a lot more. And it's very fascinating. The way he expresses himself emotionally through basketball and through this team and bringing them together and watching them become successful. And it's a sports movie, but it's not going to rely so heavily on the typical sports movie tropes of like in the trailer you see the kid who's secretly the best player on the team. It's not a secret. He's always been the best player on the team. He just doesn't talk very loudly. So that was a really kind of a clever way to play off of that trope, and this movie does a lot of that, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it looks so good, and the more and more I read up on it, the more and more I want to see it. I mean, just watching him on Kimmel this week, telling the Adam Driver story where he kind of surprised his kid for his birthday. I mean, the emotion in his eyes and stuff, you could tell that, I don't know, just this movie, because he has the alcoholism in real life issue, doesn't have a dead kid, but, he is away from his kids a lot. He's in a divorce, and there's things that go, and you could just feel what he used to get there in the movie, and God damn it, I want to see it so bad, and it sucks sometimes having a family. I'm kidding, of course. We finally have good weather out, so it's hard to just say, no, we can't go do this today. I got to go see a movie, which I have yet to say to my family this year, unfortunately, which is why I haven't seen much. But it looks so good, and
it's authentic. That's what the key is. And I cried. I did.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if he had directed it, if it'd be better.
Oh my god!
Or would that hurt his performance? I know he's done okay with the movies he's directed. He's won an Oscar as a producer, but I don't know. I'm curious. If nothing else. Anything else on the way back?
Go see it. It's incredible. And he's specifically incredible in this. This is some really good Affleck.
Any chat he hangs around for Oscar season?
I'd like to see it. It's
hard for a March movie.
It's hard for a movie to hang around that long.
But it's happened.
Yeah.
Emma,
of course, an adaptation, the latest adaptation of the Jane Austen story, stars Anya Taylor-Joy in the role of Emma, who is a fancies herself a matchmaker. She likes to put people together, and as we join the story, she's put together her governess with a neighbor who many believed would not get married ever again, and that's a kind of a clever way to get into the story. And we sort of jump into this thing where she feels like she's now this benevolent person who can decide who's going to marry who and how they're all going to come together, and trying to protect herself, meanwhile, from actually finding anybody, because she can't deal with anything for herself. Anya Taylor-Joy is just wonderful in this movie. She captures the spirit of Emma, the youth and the beauty, and the period time frame of this character is just wonderful. It's so witty and so unique. There is a sort of a modernity to the acting, but not to the words, not to the authentic, like the costuming and the elaborate sets are gorgeous and they're very of the time period. But there's something about her manner in some ways that kind of feels modern, but it also makes Emma feel like a different character from everybody else. It makes her feel fresh and alive and vibrant as compared to the other characters in the movie. And I like that sort of twist on it, that she's not speaking in a modern tongue or anything, but just these little huffs like she has, like she'll just, the way she turns her shoulders, or they're just the kind of frustration that she expresses just feels like a very modern kind of approach to it. I like that a lot. I like her a lot. This is a very romantic movie. It's got a lovely bunch of romantic characters who have are very vibrant and alive, and I really liked the romance of this. Of course, she's on her way towards. She's butting heads with Knightley, and then of course they're on their way to perhaps being together. And she's also working hard on her friend Harriet and trying to make her better, but also getting in the way of her happiness, even though she doesn't realize it. Lots of really great little stories happening throughout this movie, and of course there's Bill Nighy hanging over the entire thing as her father, just hitting every joke out of the park. Just every little tiny joke that he does is just genius. He's just going on about a draft in the house and just constantly mentioning this draft that's going through the house. And it kind of reminded me of this, how I've always thought of that time frame is like, yeah, like a breeze could fucking kill you back then. Like, right. I get it. That made sense to me. I really connected with that.
Imagine if they had the coronavirus. So who's this movie for? I mean, $5 million isn't bad. Only 1,500 screens. Clearly a smaller movie, but, you know, if I take my daughter to this, something she would like, or is it more for older people? Or I know it's PG.
It's probably older audiences for the most part, because they're the ones who identify with Jane Austen. But really anybody who loves a good romance and anybody who can deal with a period time frame.
Right.
A lot of kids see period movies as sort of a homework situation, but at a certain point, you're going to introduce kids to Jane Austen, and some of them are going to fall in love and want to live in that world forever, and some are going to go, that's homework, and I never want to sit through that again.
Fair enough. Yeah. I did not get to that one either, but it was either that or Onward, and my son won, so...
Again, I'm a dork. I cried. It was lovely.
Good.
I don't know. I'm not a very good critic this week. I loved everything except for maybe I was a little hard on Onward, which is a good movie but not great.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being positive.
Just wait. I haven't even reached my positivity yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
Clueless.
Clueless, which of course is a modern high school adaptation of Emma. The same story. Cher is the Emma of this story. She's one who fancies herself as a matchmaker, who constantly gets in her own way and is avoiding romance for herself. And she's got a wacky relationship with her dad, and she's got... this case, Paul Rudd is the Knightley character, and he's constantly criticizing her, and they're butting heads on their way to where they're going. And I loved putting together the analogs for various different characters. And there really isn't one for Dion and her boyfriend, but that's all right. They're wonderfully colorful characters throughout. The thrust of the story has her trying to help Brittany Murphy's character become popular, but of course in doing so she's keeping her from actually being happy while also keeping herself from being happy, and she's on a journey toward being a better person. And it's a terrifically captured journey. Alicia Silverstone is just wonderful. She's just adorable, and just the little touches that she brings to her performance, the joy that she brings, the little hop here, the little curtsy there. It's just these little lovely touches, her wonderful smile, that indomitable spirit. I can't get enough. This is lively and poppy and sweet and romantic and very funny at times. I adore this movie.
It's amazing how positive it is. I mean, I look at a movie like Mean Girls, and I guess I'd be the most, other than Emma, but something you could compare this to. And, I mean, they're mean girls in it. Here, even though she's popular, she's not, the stoner kid. She's like, you don't want to, she's not mean to him, but she's like, you just don't want to date him, But there's still, he serves his purpose, and there's positivity across that. I mean, even the gay character, which in that year, that could have been a joke in the movie, and they did not make it a joke at all,
no.
Which I was really impressed with. The whole thing was just really, really positive, but at the same time allowed you to have enough conflict where you kind of learn, you kind of created a little monster here. How do you get out of it? And, it was pretty, I guess I was more impressed because, like I said, when I saw this way back when it came out, the first movie I ever fall asleep in a theater at, and I was not the movie's fault. Sometimes
right.
You're just tired when you go. And I normally don't sleep in movie theaters. Usually it's at home. That's why I used to have the sleep test in the early days of the podcast. But this time it was an easy watch. I don't know. I could definitely see watching it again. My daughter wanted to watch it, but we never got around to watching it at the same time, so I just finally had to watch it myself. But it cost $1 more to buy than rent, so I just bought the thing on Amazon, so she'll get a chance to watch it. But no, I'm just really surprised by how positive it was. And also, forgetting Brittany Murphy's in it, who doesn't even look like Brittany Murphy, who she became.
Yeah.
And Paul Rudd looks the same.
Isn't that crazy? He hasn't changed at all.
How do you have a 50-year-old guy playing a high schooler? This is ridiculous. Or a college kid. But that was probably the most shocking thing, is how much he looks the same.
It's such a great looking movie too. The colors pop in this. The cinematography is phenomenal. The costumes as well, just bright, beautiful colors. It reminded me a lot of Legally Blonde, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And again, super positive. Journey of somebody who seems like a shallow person who doesn't have much inner life, who grows an inner life right before your eyes. I think that's a wonderful story.
Because why didn't she, Reese Witherspoon had success. Lindsay Lohan threw it all away, but she had success. Alicia Silverstone, she just kind of went down to the middle, the character, not even character actor, like just middle.
It's bizarre how this played out. She
was huge.
Stacey Dash is a horrible person now. I tried to, Paul Rudd obviously is the most successful of this cast to come out of it, but you kind of wonder how did this not work out for Alicia Silverstone? She should have been a massive movie star after this.
Well, she was huge going into this. She was in those music videos, and then and Brittany Murphy was on pace. She was probably the most successful at the time when she passed away. But yeah, she's so perfect in that role. Maybe she was so good in it that they just thought that's all she could do and never gave her a shot. Meanwhile, Reese Witherspoon's been doing these indie movies up until that, because she kind of played a similar character in those Aerosmith videos, I guess. But you don't really get a chance to know because she's just in a music video. So I don't know.
Alicia Silverstone, at least in the most recently, she was in The Lodge and stars in the most fucking amazing scene of that movie.
That's good.
So there's that. She's still out there doing stuff, but I thought, she should have been. She made bad choices too. She picked a couple of pretty terrible movies after this, which is unfortunate.
And sometimes, you don't necessarily want to go down that road either. part of probably what led to Ben Affleck's alcoholism is just you can't go anywhere. So what are you going to do? So, I mean, I could see not, purposely staying out of the spotlight as well, but I don't know.
I had a weird observation while watching this movie because for some reason I'd watched this YouTube video about pickup artists, just like making fun of them because they're dorks and losers. And weirdly enough, I was like, I'm watching Clueless and I'm listening to Cher run down the various things that she needs to do in order to, the advice she's giving to Brittany Murphy's character and what she's doing to Christian throughout. I'm like, that's pickup artist stuff. That's what they do. Wait a minute. Did they watch this movie and that's how they learned how to pick up women, was to take what she did and then apply it to you against women? Could you imagine, like, those guys like Neil Strauss guys, like, watching this movie going, taking notes, like, yeah, okay, do that to her. Instead of her doing that to me, I'll do that to her. And that's how I'll pick up women.
Well, when Neil Strauss did it, it was very calculated, where he's trying to figure it out
Right.
and actually write a book about it. So maybe. I mean, it's entirely possible.
Like, and he's like the guys who worked with him, like Mystery and Rush V, these awful human beings, like, this is exactly what they do.
Yeah.
They got it from Clueless.
It's not beyond the realm of possibility. Yeah, but I mean, especially if you're kind of my age and you got, kids in that junior high to high school range and they haven't seen Clueless yet, it still holds up. And, my daughter was really into Mean Girls for a while. I'm excited to finally give her a chance to go check this one out because it's as good, if not better. It's it really is a good movie. So
Yeah, I think this is a better movie than Mean Girls. And I like Mean Girls, but I think this is funnier. I think it's brighter. I think it's more. There's just much more interesting things happening to it. It's a better looking movie.
Yeah, I mean that one's
Tighter.
Nothing against Tina Fey, but it was more. It's more of a comedy. I mean, it's got its moments, but yeah, this is just a tighter movie. That's a good word for this. Yeah, so go see it. It's pretty cheap on Amazon right now. Anything else before we move on?
Nope.
1990, a lot of shit came out. I'll list the ones we probably don't remember. Bad Influence. Any idea what that is?
Yeah, that's Rob Lowe and James Spader.
Sounds great.
Weirdly unavailable. Like, impossible to find this movie now for some reason. But yeah.
Body Chemistry.
Body Chemistry.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, this is the first time somebody tried to adapt that book before, obviously now,
Doing it
the
well.
TV show.
TV show
Well,
never
I believe
watched.
this movie was
Good.
beloved at the time it came out.
The Last of the Finest.
No idea.
Love at Large.
Nope, no clue.
House Party. Remember
House
that
Party! I remember House Party. I loved House Party as a kid. I haven't watched House Party in years, but and I
thought
couldn't
about
get to
it.
it this week. But
one? I don't really want to ruin, the good memories either. It probably would still hold up for what it is. I could
Yeah.
probably laugh at it, but I didn't really want to go back
I worry
there.
like there could be like terrible, like, I don't know, attitudes that don't hold up. But I mean, it's possible with this. But
but
that's why I fear looking back at a lot of things.
yeah, but the few times I have looked back, it's
I mean,
usually if you capture it right, there's a
weirdly, I mean, this movie's only like 4 or 5 years older than Clueless, and Clueless was way ahead of its time.
And I wonder if, which is weird, when we were talking about Emma, I was wondering how much that played a role in, Clueless being as positive as, the source material, and wondering if, how backwards did we end up getting it as time? Did it get worse and then get better again, or in terms of prejudice and all that stuff? Because it's, Clueless is almost like a utopia. That's how. In a way, and that's kind of the way it should be. You know. Anyway, hopefully, House Party's not that bad.
It was bad, but it was funny back in the day.
I'll never see it again, so I'm good. Joe versus the Volcano, unless you want me to watch that over James Bond week. House Party Marathon.
Let's do all the House Party movies, and we'll do that one that they did that wasn't House Party.
That's funny. Joe versus the Volcano.
Joe versus the Volcano. This is Paul Michael Shanley, I believe his name is, the director of Doubt, also made this, which just is just endlessly entertaining idea to me. But this was his first time in Hollywood making a movie, and he got to work with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan before they were really Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. This is the first time they worked together, and he's created a movie that is so singular and so wonderful. It has got its own unique vibe and universe to it. The comedy is unusual, and the beats are strange. The ideas that he comes up with are unique and different and interesting. Joe is a guy who works at a medical supply company. He has a terrible job that he hates. He's completely miserable, and he goes to a doctor, and he finds out that he's told that that although everything's fine with him, all the things that he's hypochondriac about are fine, except that he has a brain cloud and he's going to die in 6 months. And so he decides this turns his entire life around. He goes back to work. He quits his job. He's going to go home and just do nothing. His new attitude attracts the woman at work, played by Meg Ryan, but then he tells her that he's dying, so she leaves because she's like freaked out by him. The next day, Lloyd Bridges shows up at his apartment, and Lloyd Bridges is just this wonderful, sprightly character, this big, giant smile on his face, and he's heard that Joe's going to die, and he wants him to die a brave death by jumping into a volcano on this island that he needs that has this particular alloy that he needs for his company. So he hires Joe. He gives him all these credit cards and all this money and says, go do whatever you want, buy whatever you want, live your life for a couple weeks, and then you're going to the island to die like a man. And he goes and he meets with Meg Ryan again, but this time Meg Ryan is Lloyd Bridges' daughter. It's an entirely different character, and Meg Ryan is brilliant. She creates a second entire character in this movie. And so she shows him around L.A. They have a good time. They almost build kind of a chemistry, and then she leaves, and we get on the boat, and there's another Meg Ryan. It's her sister. It looks like the classic blonde Meg Ryan this time. And she creates another wholly unique and wonderful character on the boat as the boat captain. She's going to take him to the island. They begin to fall in love. The boat capsizes. They get to the island, and everything happens from there. But this movie's wonderful. Beginning to end, absolutely spectacular. It looks unique. It feels unique. The comedy is just spot on. Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are amazing. It's romantic. I love this movie so much.
Yeah, I should have watched it. I remember being bored by it when I was a kid, but I was also a kid. Yeah. I keep forgetting I was like 10 in 1990. Because I remember things from back then. This is when I really started to remember these movies. But it's weird to look back and go, I guess that's why I don't remember. But it sounds pretty fascinating. And it is weird that the dude who wanted to walk across the volcano last week did that the same week Joe versus the Volcano turns 30.
Did he survive?
He had a safety harness on. It didn't even matter. Everybody turned it off because there was no chance of death.
This movie is wonderful because it has so much life to it. Ozzie Davis plays a limo driver who Tom Hanks just sort of drafts as a temporary best friend, and he's just awesome. He's Ozzie Davis, and he just brings so much life and vitality to this little tiny character. And he's just there for a few minutes and gone. Amanda Plummer pops up for like 10 minutes, and she's awesome, just playing a random character. Every little set piece, every little joke is just its own little funny thing that happens. It's just all brilliant. And Dan Hedaya plays his boss. So that he was in Clueless, and he's in this. He was just amazing.
So rank your Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movies. What's one,
this
2,
is the
and
best
3?
one.
Really?
Unquestionably, this is the best Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan.
I'd always go Sleepless in Seattle.
That's a good movie, but it's
obviously
much more
You Got Mail
straightforward.
is really the worst. Not that that's bad either, but
that's more straightforward, adult, contemporary kind of version. This is the pop, fun version, and I take that every day. This movie's amazing. This is actually rising in my top movies of all time now because I had such a great time watching it this week.
Now you're gonna make me go watch it where you've raised the bar so high. Like,
I can't.
what the fuck is this guy watching? But that's everything this week.
Yeah.
Fast one.
I love every movie now, apparently, because that happened last week, too.
Okay to like movies. I mean, when I started reviewing CDs or music, the stuff I hated, and it's different from music to movies, but because there's different genres, and the genre, you know, you're definitely going to lean one or the other, but I try to just look at it as, if I was into this, would I like it? And that's kind of the approach I would take. And so I to keep it as positive as possible, but
you don't understand, though.
Easy.
I'm a miserable person. I hate everything. Isn't that what everybody always says about critics? You hate everything. Lately, I just love everything.
They always say they go to Rotten Tomatoes, and if the critic scores down here and the audience scores up there, they're going to love that movie.
And then they go and they are miserable watching Fantasy Island.
They go and they love it, but they don't listen to the podcast. It's not our audience anyway. Next week, we got My Spy, Bloodshot, and I Still Believe. Hopefully The Hunt. There's talk that might come out. I know they got a big stand-up for it at Regal.
Yeah.
So hopefully that comes. There's a lot of backstory to that movie that I'm curious about. Hopefully it doesn't suck. Wouldn't that be awesome? Classic is The Hurt Locker.
Yeah. The Catherine Bigelow has her first directorial film that came out in 1990, or second. I think it's actually their second one. Her first one came out in the late 80s. It was with Bill Paxton. This one is Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. Also, we got Blind Fury, Nuns on the Run, Lord of the Flies, Lambada, and The Forbidden Dance.
the Lambada middle fingers going back and forth between the Cannon guys. What a wonderful story to have in 1 week. They were both trying to tell each other to go fuck themselves with dance.
Isn't that how you did it back in the 80s? Not the 90s. I guess Nirvana hadn't come out yet. It's right around the corner, though.
But yes, the Lambada is The Forbidden Dance, but these are two different movies, Lambada and The Forbidden Dance.
Right. I should have said one at the beginning, one at the end, so there's no chance that it was Lambada : The Forbidden Dance.
It was made by the guys who owned Cannon Films.
When they split up.
And they were basically wanting to make a Lambada movie. They both wanted to make one, and they're both, like, angry at each other. They both decided to make one and release them the same week.
Which they were practically done at, wasn't the Masters of the Universe the one that ruined it? And that was like 2 years ago at this point, or maybe a year ago. So, this is them hanging on for that death rattle.
It's so great. The movies can't possibly beat how great this story is, just as we're telling it now.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that Cannon documentary, it's fantastic. I can't remember the name of it offhand.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about it next week. But that is our show. I do want to thank our Patreon supporters for supporting the podcast at the character actor level, the key grip level. We got Charlie Messing and Jason Bryant at the craft services level, Zach Covemaker at the character actor level, Christina Cato, Josh and Beth Paul, and Cousin Jeff. And then our special effects level, Corey Finneran. If you want to be a supporter, ihatecritics.net/Patreon, or just go to our website, ihatecritics.net, and click on the Patreon link. It's up at the top. The all-new, stripped-down website. Way simpler. We could still blog in there if we want. There is a blog section. We didn't do a lot of that in the past, but it's all there. So if you want to be a supporter, head over there. And then check out Cousin Jeff's designs. They're really, really funny, really, really good, and would look good on a T-shirt, on a pillow, on a notebook, a magnet, sticker.
Mouse pad? Do they still have mouse pads?
I don't know if they do mouse pads. They do mugs, all sorts of stuff.
Is that still a thing? No, Grandpa, they don't make mouses anymore. Oh, sorry.
I got a mouse pad at work. It's the carpet from the Big Lebowski.
Nice.
Although the one we're sitting on is supposed to be kind of a replica of that. But yeah, that'd be a great way to help support the podcast too, and help support Cousin Jeff's art, because that's part of why we commissioned him, and he's good. I really enjoy the design. So head over to ihatecritics.net for all of that. ihatecritics.com, everyone's a critic podcast.com. It's all there. It'll be on our Facebook page as well. So that really would help support the podcast. Otherwise, we can run to Flick Chart, and we'll talk about Home Alone or California with a K.
Home Alone?
I don't remember California that much, so I'll go Home Alone as well. Starsky and Hutch, Nurse Betty.
Nurse Betty, I love that movie.
Yeah. The Cable Guy, Notting Hill.
Notting Hill.
I'll just go along with you. Don't love that one as much, but not a big Cable Guy fan. Femme Fatale, The Manchurian Candidate, 2004.
Manchurian Candidate. Femme Fatale is a legit terrible film.
It's fun to watch, though.
Fun to masturbate to, maybe. That's about it.
So?
Pause it about 10 minutes in, and you're pretty much done.
You gotta fast forward a little ways, find the right scene. John Stamos has like a cameo on, like in a phone call.
Yeah.
Rio, Clue.
Clue.
Yeah.
Rio's another one of those like that. That's like Onward.
Onward's better than Rio. Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Oh, it's Harold and Kumar all the way, yeah.
I agree. Donnie Brasco, Magnolia.
Magnolia.
Flip it.
Tails.
Magnolia it is. The Green Mile, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Agreed.
I just think it's so long. It's so long.
Heat, Frequency.
Heat.
You don't have to be upset about it. Bridesmaids, Patch Adams.
Bridesmaids.
Yeah. Armageddon, 12 Angry Men, 1957.
12 Angry Men.
Demolition Man, Wall Street.
I'm supposed to love Wall Street, right?
Yeah. I actually do love Demolition Man, though, so
I would actually watch Demolition Man before I'd watch Wall Street. So.
As would I. I don't know why. Stallone, I guess, but Demolition Man's fun. Last King of Scotland, Dangerous Minds.
I don't know. Last King of Scotland.
Yeah. Like Mike, 2002, Pay It Forward.
Oh, God. Like Mike, please. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. That's the reaction anytime I hear Pay It Forward. I get a PTSD reaction. I hate that fucking movie.
Is it because it was supposed to be so good? I mean, you're taking the star of like American Beauty, the kid from Sixth Sense. You're taking the girl from As Good as It Gets, and John Bon Jovi, and you're making this super group of a movie that just sucks total ass.
Yeah, it's somehow it's just the worst combination of everything. Somehow I don't know how they managed to make it just so saccharine. It's just, oh God.
And that's before we realized Kevin
so
Spacey
wretched.
was a bad person.
Exactly.
Too. That doesn't even play a role
Well,
in
I
this.
was starting to see it before everybody else. I don't know.
Well, sadly, I think a lot of people were seeing it and being quiet about it that knew.
I think it was coming out in his movies. K-Pax, shipping news, this. He was trying to tell us he was awful the whole time.
He always kind of played a dick. I mean, oddly enough, American Beauty is his most likable character. Horrible Bosses, Spy Game.
Spy Game.
I'm going to go Horrible Bosses. You can flip it.
Tails.
Spy Game. United 93, The Royal Tenenbaums.
Royal Tenenbaums, I guess.
Yeah, two movies that you really shouldn't put side by side.
Nobody should ever judge United. It shouldn't even exist.
Yeah. So my son had to go to the doctor this week, and just out of nowhere he blurts out, "Where are the two towers located?" And then, the doctor...
Mordor. They were in Mordor.
Yeah, the doctor goes with it. She says, "Oh, I was in New York. You remember what happened to those?" "Yeah." And he playing and...
God!
And, he wasn't laughing about it, but he was, just kind of...
Right.
And then he was just kind of going, it's weird that a plane would make it blow up like that. You'd think there was a bomb in there. I'm like, we do not. We have never had this conversation. We're not conspiracy theorists. I don't know why we're talking about it right now, but.
So your son's a truther, is what you're saying?
We got him off it pretty quick.
And now he's upstairs watching that documentary, was it The Penny?
Right. No, there was...
Oh, it would be so much better if I could reference it, the title. Loose change.
Loose change. Oh, man.
I would actually think you a worse parent for letting him watch that than any horror movie you let him watch.
We really don't let him watch as many horror movies as I pretend to. I try. He does not. He gets scared way too easy, so we don't watch anything. But, yeah, I mean, he was talking about the guy who was walking across the Twin Towers, which, again, I don't know why he would even know what that is.
He's referencing Man on Wire?
Yeah, but I don't know where he got it from. And him and this doctor were just having these conversations, and I don't know, it was weird. And then he just randomly blurted out that thing about the Twin Towers. Then one day he comes up to me and he goes, you know when Trump put those terrorists in other countries and how that was a good thing for some people? It was bad for the countries to put the terrorists in. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then it occurred to me, he was thinking of tariffs. Which I don't even know why he would think of tariffs either. But sometimes kids can be too smart for their own good.
He has a rich inner life.
He was way more into the Democratic election than I was. First he liked Andrew Yang, then he liked Pete Buttigieg. Then he liked Elizabeth Warren, now he's upset. Thankfully he doesn't have to vote. Babe or Flubber?
Babe.
Bridget Jones' Diary, The Breakup.
Bridget Jones.
Yeah. Fearless, Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2, yeah, of course. What was I thinking? Yeah.
Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss.
Captain America.
I think that comes out in 1990, Prom Night 3.
Oh, nice.
Cedar Rapids, Poltergeist.
I don't love Poltergeist, and I really do kind of like Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, part of me wants to vote for Poltergeist just because of Toby Hooper.
Yeah, I see that.
But I think I like Cedar Rapids better too, though. So I'll go with Cedar Rapids.
Sorry,
I like the Duplass brothers a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, Force Majeure. It's a Wonderful Life.
Force Majeure.
I'm surprised to see that on here. Fathers and Daughters, 2015. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Well, I think we've established that your computer listens to us.
That is true.
and via that, Flick Chart listens to us.
I'm going to reset that one. American Gangster, Rollerball, 2002.
Oh, American Gangster. Rollerball is such a piece of shit. That movie is such garbage. They shoot an entire section of that movie using a one of those, oh God, one of those
GoPros?
No, like a headlamp, what do you call it? Like where you're trying to see at night. Night vision camera. They do an entire section of the movie just in a night vision camera, and it looks such garbage. It is so terrible.
I mean, American Gangster is not great. It's good. It's just over long.
Yeah. And not nearly as good as it should be given what's going on.
And who's in it. Yeah.
But yeah, Rollerball. Wow, that movie's awful. I mean,
what about the original Rollerball?
I don't really remember that one.
Neither do I. I remember my dad liked that, that's all.
Yeah, the remake is one of the worst movies ever made.
And American Tail, Troy.
American Tail.
Yeah. Edge of Tomorrow, Man on the Moon.
Man on the Moon.
So we'd be flipping for that one. Mimic, Spider-Man 2. The Raimi one.
Spider-Man 2 is one of the greatest movies ever made.
28 weeks later, Broken Arrow.
Oh, shit. I gotta do this again. Broken Arrow, I would watch it right now, whereas opposed to I would be kind of ambivalent about watching 28 weeks.
28 weeks later isn't as good as 28 days later either. Euro Trip, Wild at Heart. Ooh, that comes out this year.
Love Wild at Heart. But I watch Euro Trip so many times.
Really?
The Matt Damon stuff just kills me.
That is true.
That is so funny. That joke, the way they keep bringing that back kills me every time. I don't know. There's something about that movie. It's like a really great pop song for me.
Pretty much that's all it is. All right, we'll go Euro Trip. Up or Ray?
Up.
Agreed. The Road Warrior, Traffic.
Traffic.
Tried so hard to like those movies.
Yeah.
Return of the Lost World, 1992. Children of Men.
What is Return of the Lost World? Doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard of.
All right, let's get rid of that one. It looks like Jack Black on the cover. It's clearly not. It was 1992. Remember the Titans, Children of Men.
Children of Men. Remember the Titans is just so dull. It's just Denzel at his absolutely most dull.
And it's what I could easily see the Ben Affleck movie way back being perceived as before people not going to see. Or people going to see because of they like movies like Remember the Titans,
yeah.
And they get there and like, holy shit. Bad Boys 2, E.T.
E.T. God, I hate Bad Boys 2.
Adventures of Huck Finn, Brubaker.
I honestly cannot tell you if I've seen either of those movies.
Fair enough. Because I have not. The Astronaut Farmer, Bend It Like Beckham.
I have unfortunately seen both of those movies. Bend It Like Beckham.
I've seen neither, so I'll take your word for it. Frozen or Requiem for a Dream? Man, the fucking visuals I have in my head right now are not fair.